Hello and welcome to this episode of Educology, in which we will treat the subject generation gap. The notion of generation gap has existed for a long time, but over the recent years it has become more prominent in our society and is now being seen and addressed as a major problem of our society. Generation gap, as stated by definition, is considered as a difference between personal choices, opinions, and perception of different generations, which leads to conflicts and gap between family members. It affects not just relations, but also day-to-day activities due to advancement of new technologies and lack of communication between the younger generation and the older one. Generation gap has created a rift in a familial relationships. Several efforts and studies have been done in order to understand the main causative factors of this issue, to try to find some solutions to somehow reduce its growing, hold over the arising conflicts between different generations. To talk more about this subject, I'm glad to have on set Dr. Laurance Ajaka. Hello, Dr. Laurance, and welcome.
Hello, dear. Greetings to you and to our viewers all over the world.
Dr. Laurance, let's start with the challenge facing the children and the parents. In the last episode, we talked about the difference between generations. So we started to talk about this challenge that we have between parents and children. Let's recap a little bit about this challenge.
We said that we had many generations, and we said that the gap between generation Y and Z is very wide, to the extent that it should be tackled as soon as possible, else the consequences will be very bad. Today I'm gonna talk about, as long as we talked about the causes that led to the problem, to that gap, today we're gonna talk about the generation gap, which is the major reason why parents and the children are moving away from each other. As I said earlier, millennials were very busy, and they had to work hard for survival, and they were absent. If I get a child, I'm supposed to take care of that child at least until the age of 7. I don't accept anyone to be there and to accept whatever ideas in the subconscious of my child. The subconscious of a child is a white paper. Whatever you dot there, it will appear. It will last. Parents are meant to take care of their children physically and mentally. They have to polish their minds. And they have a very important tool, which is the habit. They should use the habit to incept in their children the core values, such as respect, values, ethics, everything related to this word.
So the parents should be present in their children's lives, and they can't blame them of doing something if they are not present.
Let me mention something in here. 75% at birth, 75% of the traits we have are inheritable, and 25% are acquired. The smarter person will change the 75 to 25 and the 25 to 75. You're here, you have this piece of land. You have to work hard on it at the beginning, prepare it to be ready to accept everything good. If I grow a bad seed in that land, it will give a bad tree. It will not be a good one. That's why I'm supposed to take care of the land at the beginning, to prepare it well.
So the seeds we put in the early ages, we will find it in the teenager.
Definitely, because the subconscious is clear. It has nothing. Whatever you do during childhood will be incepted there. And it will be incepted by habit. We practice, we repeat. Repetition is of great importance to incept those core values in our children. We left them. They spent the time with their nannies, at schools. And maybe those people who were with our children, they led them to vice. Who knows? Why should I be absent? Money cannot compensate for anything. I'm not rewarding my children. My existence is the only reward. I should be there. I should watch my child. He's a part of me. I can't leave that person to strangers. I incept what I have to do in the brain of my child. And after that, after the age of 7, I accompany my child because he will be exposed to the outer world. I get him ready. Day by day, I have to get a report from my child of everything that happened outside, so I can have my defensive mechanism. Later on, if I want to talk to my child or deal with that child, I have a defensive mechanism that will help me to convince that child or to be in control, but not to be authoritarian.
So how we can forge the respect and the friendship to have coherence into family unit?
The family should be there, the father and the mother. They should be a good example for their children. They should treat them with love, and they should have very good attitudes, because attitudes matter. If your attitude towards your child is not good, the child will not accept anything. Let me tell you something. If I introduce an idea for you right now, and you didn't like me, you can't accept that idea. You don't even open the way for me just to talk to you anymore. And that's the case with our children. We can't impose on them our ideas. We can't yell at them to go and study. We have to sit with them, to convince them.
We have to talk with them.
We have to be positive.
To listen.
Why don't you teach me? Why don't you let me know I don't know? You know more than I do when it comes to technology. So come sit next to me and tell me what you have. If I put a small stage for my child and I tell my child to express himself or herself, things will be totally different. I'm helping my child to have a good personality. I don't want a timid child. I don't want a child to be bullied. I need to talk to my child. I don't want a copy of me, but I want to reveal the best out of my child. And who can do that better than the mother and the father? Even if the father goes to work and he's absent during the day, he can come in the evening, sit with his children and give them a good example of the good father.
Even if he's tired, it's not a reason not to sit with the children.
Why the children?
We have to give them at least 1 hour during the day, even if...
Every day, not during the day. Every day. They have the right to sit with their parents. We cannot deprive them.
Even 1 hour, it's not good. We need more than 1 hour.
We cannot deprive them of having quality time with their parents. It's their right. We are responsible for them. For me, I believe that paper you sign, it's not a paper for you and your partner. It's a paper that, as if you are giving, if you're doing an agreement with God, telling him, if you give me a child, I will take care of that child. And remember, we can't blame all the parents for what they have introduced to their children, because that's what they know. I can say this to the millennials, but I cannot say this to the centennials who are exposed to technology and they have a lot of information and they are aware of every single aspect in life. I can improve their practices, their attitudes, by letting them focus on what is important or not. If I bring a girl, I tell her, come in here. If you're gonna get married, you should be responsible for your child. You cannot run away from responsibility. Running away will not help. It will make the problem bigger and harder. You should be there. You should be willing to give and to sacrifice in order to get a good man to the society. Of course, you can be in control if you're there all the time. You should not miss any single day. I said from the age of 7 till the age of 12, those children are exposed to schools, environment, peers. They started to process a little bit. If they are introduced to this world, to the outer world, they should have somebody, a bodyguard with them. That bodyguard will help them to know the good from the bad and keep going and have a clear sense of direction. If I accompany my children at that period, during that period, when they are 12, they start to go the ladder up step by step, and they are responsible. Why don't I teach my child something very important? Mom, you are here every day, you will have exams in life. They are called the problems. Every day you will have problems, be ready. Be responsible. You have to work hard to get to what you want. Life is not easy, but you have to handle it properly. If we don't equip our children with the right tools to go forward to forth in life, we're not, how to say, we don't have the privilege to be called parents.
But here the parents will face a lot of challenges, doctor. What are these challenges? How high can they deal with these challenges?
One should be there, one of the parents should be there with the children most of the time. And they can't talk badly about the partner. This will affect the personality of the child.
Even they can't fight in front of the children?
Of course not. I still remember a student, university student, he used to tell me that I've never saw my parents fighting before us. When they fight, they used to go into the room. We heard stuff like this.
Psychologically,
they will create psychological conflicts to the children if they fight. Of course, he will not feel the warmth, the safety. They will not be their role model, his role model anymore. He will look for somebody else from out. And who knows, maybe we have peers who are going to lead us to vice, or teachers, or schools. So schools should be responsible to help the parents do that. If we go for, instead of what we call it parents meetings every month, let's bring the parents and give them some courses related to bringing up children and how to deal with their children. We will be on the safe side. But unfortunately, as I told you, nowadays we want to impose everything on our generation, on the centennials, and maybe on the...
So how I was raised, I want to raise my children.
This does not work. This does not work, because like that you're doing harm to your children. I don't want a copy of me. I want to introduce to the world someone different, someone capable of serving their country, capable of being responsible.
Has his own personality, not a reflect of my
exactly.
personality.
Who gave me the authorization to bring him up the way I want? I still remember that saying of Ali bin Abi Talib, do not raise your children the way your parents raised you. They were born for a different time. So I can't realize my dreams and my children, as I said before. I have to open the way for my child to express himself or herself freely, properly, I should teach them good attitudes. I should teach them how to accept others. I should not show them that I need to be perfect all the time. We are humans. We're here to make mistakes. I should teach them that during teenage.
I can learn from my mistakes.
Definitely. I should teach them that during teenage I don't have an eraser to erase my faults anymore as I used to do before 12. When they are during their teenage period, parents should befriend their children, because there they will have the remote control and they can press on the button or click on the button that they want to get the result.
You can teach them here how to be responsible of what they do.
Exactly. They should be responsible. They should accept everything. They should be shock resistant. They should be, they should be very tough, capable of handling any situation. I should teach my children how to suit their circumstances to the situation they are in. If I do so, I'm on the safe side. I'm giving my children the chance to live life
but
easily.
At this stage, doctor, what happens if the children feels that they are abandoned by their parents?
The problem lies in that if that feeling is true, it's a problem. They should be there. If I should be absent, or I have to be absent, I should teach my child life skills before I introduce him to or her to the society. If I do so, the child will not feel abandoned, because by then I will teach that child everything related to life. And when I say life skills, everything related to ego, to self-satisfaction, to confidence, everything that related to critical thinking, collaboration, communication.
How can I teach my children lifestyles?
Life skills?
No, life skills.
The same way as I care for their food, I nurture their mind the same way as I nurture them.
But sometimes some parents will tell you, I don't know how to do it.
Thousands, let's say millions of games related to life skills are
so we can use the technology to help us
are present
at this stage.
And they can make good use of them. They take advantage of technology. So like this, they will teach their children how to behave properly, how to be good citizens, and how to know where they have to stop. And that's what we don't know nowadays. Our generation doesn't have limitations. And
Can we accuse here the parents?
Of course, we can accuse them of not being there. They should work on their children. And they know more than anybody else. 45% of the genes are inherited. 45% are quite enough to know. Nobody knows more than you about your daughter, because she has 45% of you. That 45% can help you deal better than anybody else with her. Even you're not capable of knowing that. If I have a problem with my child and my child is not capable of accepting what I've already delivered, then I ask for help.
The help of whom?
Psychologists, life coaches. Those people are there, sociologists, just to help in every single respect. And I can say that it's the responsibility of schools just to focus or to concentrate on life skills, because if we teach our students or our people life skills, they will be ready for life challenges, no matter what.
You are talking here, Dr. Laurance, about the importance of being at home with our children. But
especially at early stages.
Some parents will tell you that like this, they won't be able to get all the needs for their children. How can they deal with this?
In the past, they used to say, give me a child until the age of 7 and then take the man that you want. They didn't mean it in a way that a child can be shaped at the age of 7. No. What they meant is that if I give my child the chance to be there with him and teach him everything until the age of 7, I can introduce him to life in a good way, and I can accompany him in every single step I'm doing.
So their mom should be at home at this stage.
Definitely, and the father as well for long periods of time.
If they are obliged to work, how can they deal with their children?
Someone should sacrifice.
Even if they can't afford the needs of their children?
I can cut down on luxuries. I depend on the necessities of life. I don't need a luxury life, and I ruin the psyche or the emotional side of my child.
Maybe this luxury life that ruined our society and our children.
Definitely.
Let's take a small, short break, Dr. Laurance, and we'll be back. Don't go away. We will be right back. And we are back in our episode, and in this part we would like to start with a phone call with Mr. Ricardos Lebbous, a holder of a master's degree in applied biochemistry. Hello, Mr. Ricardos. Hope you feel well. Tell us more about your experience with your parents. How was your relation between you and your parents?
Hello, everybody. So, briefly, if we have to talk about if I'm gonna talk about my relation with my parents on a teenage level, there was a big gap somehow between the two generations. So everything comparing to the knowledge, what we were. What songs we listen, what the activity we are doing, me and my friends. What do I think should I, for example, what things should I do in the future? The kind of job I dream about, all those kind of things wasn't so clever in our relationship.
Did they affect your decisions of your major or of doing something in your life?
They tried a lot to influence my decision, but for sure, the thing that was linking us together is me. Because I'm responsible since I was a child. I'm a responsible guy. I know how to take my decisions, and that's what reflected to them my decision in the future. So, meaning that.
Ricardos, were your parents present during your childhood? They brought you up, or they had to bring someone else to help them?
No, they grew me up.
And can we say that you are emotionally satisfied?
Yes, sure.
And when you started your teenage period, did you have any gaps with your parents? Did you have a lot of clashes with them?
Somehow, yes, there was some gaps on multiple levels.
Were you rebellious to the extent that you took your independence by violence?
No, not by violence.
How could you convince your parents that you can handle your own issues?
Through my actions, and it's on milestone based. Like if I tell them I'm gonna do this, they should see me how I'm doing it, and step by step they will understand that I'm able to do this.
Did they teach you how to be shock resistant? Did they tell you that there are exams in life, daily exams that you have to sit for?
Yes.
And one more thing I would like to ask in this respect. If you were in the place of your parents, what
Yeah.
would you change?
I will change the way I approach my child, the things I wanna teach him, like anything about the society, the emotional things. The way I approach him is I should go down to his level of understanding and try to convince him.
One last question, Ricardos. Of course, God's willing, you will be married and you will have children. How will you deal with your children later on in the future, knowing that your children, God's willing, will be Alpha generation, that generation who is totally connected to technology?
Yeah, I will try to keep myself updated as much as I can so I can understand his needs and everything he thinks about, as well as I might get the help of psychologists or anyone who can help on that level so I can be the perfect parent.
Were your friends or your peers in problems with their parents?
Sorry, couldn't hear.
Were your friends having at the time problems with their parents that you didn't have?
Yes.
Did you help them or you couldn't help in this respect?
And sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So you affected their way of thinking in a way or another?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ricardos, for your to share with us your experience about how you have deal with your parents in your childhood.
Thank you.
Dr. Laurance.
A very responsible person. He said something which is very important. He said that he will be updated. And being updated, important. This will help you.
What we're talking about.
To keep a track of your way. You can't lose the way and you will be in control once you're doing that as a post.
So we have to build our trust with our children and try not to raise them as we have been raised.
If you created this device, you know all the ins and outs of it. If you throw it, you know how to throw it because you're aware of the whole background. And that's what happens with parents. If they give a rigid background to their children till the age of 7, then they can let them go in life and they have the life skills necessary to let them keep going without being hurt. When we teach our children life skills, we are making them avoid a lot of trouble in their lives.
How here we can motivate our children, doctor?
There are a lot of activities, extracurricular activities that will help them reveal their potentials and letting them be with their peers, because what you learn from your peers, from the environment you are living in, is much more important than what it's a lot more than what you're having with your parents.
Is it good, Dr. Laurance, as some parents do, all the free time of their children, they have activities?
Those activities should be well studied. They need to let them lead to where? Do they promote their critical thinking? Do they promote their communication skills? Do they promote their collaboration? Those skills, let them, if they have a game, to accept the defeat. If they lose, will they turn into monsters? We have to tame our children to let them accept the loss as well as the gain. We have to let them be ready for every single challenge in life, and we're not going to be there all the time. There is a point where we have to stop as parents, and we will let them there because they are the children of life, as Khalil Gibran said, and not your children.
But sometimes, doctor, the activities they go to the extreme that children, they don't have time to spend with their parents.
How can I regulate that? I can go slowly if I repeat what I want from my child so many times. Like this, I'm calling his or her subconscious to be present. That's how I incept ideas and values. So I need to do the same with my children. I can't open the way for them to do everything that they want. But if they do things properly, they can have a reward or compensation for that. But if they don't, I'm sorry, I can't do that. They have to learn from their own mistakes. They have to pay. Remember, everything has a price in this life. You can't get anything for free. You have to pay the price, especially during teenage periods. That period is of a great importance. It's very sensitive, it's very critical, and you have to be aware of every single thing there. If not, you will lose your child.
But in teenage
But that you lose your child, you will lose control over your child.
In teenage period, our culture always blames teenager for not listening to what their parents
Those
are saying.
are the traditionalists who want to stick to their traditions, culture, values. You can't tell a millennial that you want to leave your dad or your mom and go out live by yourself. They can't accept such a practice. They believe in their environment, their society, their community cannot accept such an act or behavior. So basically, you are supposed to do things differently.
How can the parents deal with this problem?
They should be cautious. They should let their children be in the front. They should lead them from the back. So like this, they will have self-confidence in themselves, and they will be responsible enough to deal with every single obstacle they have in their lives.
Who's better than parents to guide and interpret children?
Each period has its own teachers. When our children are 7, the responsibility will be on the schools, the instructors, the community. They will help the parents with their work to introduce their children to the outer world, and then by the end of the 14, the children can start moving forth in life by themselves. It's a way as if they are in a probation period to prepare themselves for the maturity period.
So here it's not bad that the parents, we ask for help.
Right.
From social workers,
Definitely,
from
definitely.
psychologists.
Sometimes when you don't know, it's not wrong to ask, because when you ask, you will not lose a lot of time struggling there.
Can the nursery and the school play this role in teenager life?
What do you mean?
Can the school replace the parents at this stage?
Not really, not really. We know that the school has a lot of influence on children or students, but that does not give them, how to say, they cannot be in the place of the parents. The parents should be there if they want to continue the way of their,
Even
with their
if
children.
the trust is missed between the parents and the children.
Actually, as I said earlier, they will ask for help when things evolve in this way. They can't tackle it by themselves. They need help from a psychologist, psychiatrist, no matter what, but they have to be very cautious, because bringing a psychologist, especially in the Eastern countries, or a psychiatrist is a sign of craziness, or I don't know what. They can't accept such ideas. So they have to be very cautious. They have to try hard and to do things silently, not to do harm to the ego of their children.
Is it late, Dr. Laurance, to educate parents of today of how to raise
Not
their
really.
children?
They are still too young. You're never old to learn anything new. As long as you are alive, you're learning. So if they let them have programs on TV related to the good education, good bringing, how to bring their children up in a good way, how to raise the children in the family, how to have a cohesive family, how to have good unity, like this, we are helping a lot to overcome a lot of problems that we're going to have in our society or our community.
How important is the role of media, for example, to help parents have more information about how to deal with their
We know
children?
that millennials or the early centennials are exposed to technology, and the mass media can be of a great help for them because they listen, they hear, and there are a lot of visuals. Those visuals will help them just to have the big picture of anything that is going on. So basically, mass media is of a great help. We have to take advantage. Everything in life has a good and a bad side, and technology has. So we have to take the good side of technology and try to avoid the bad side. So like this, to be on the safe side.
Who else here can help to educate parents?
The community. Let's say the religious people, because a lot of people are supernaturalists and they believe in those, they have a trust in those people. And let's say that if you have any community activities, this will lead to awareness campaigns. Let's say the pre-marriage sessions. A lot of people can help in this respect to have awareness campaigns as regards bringing up children or raising children in the right way.
So before our episode comes to an end, let's recap a little bit for who's watching us, how the generations are classified and how this gap can be bridged again.
Actually, as I've already mentioned, Generation Y has a big, a wide gap with Generation Z. It should be bridged. They have to work on that. As I said, parents should be with their children at least in the first 7 years at their early stages to incept in their subconscious the core values, ethics, and habits necessary to survive in life in a good way. After that, it's the responsibility of the schools and the community to help the parents with their work, to introduce their children to life and start to give them the first steps to the outer world. After that, after the age of 14, we have to leave our children make their way, but we have to be like remote controls. We monitor or supervise them from far and let them reach maturity, equipped with the right life skills necessary to let them meet or face the challenges presented ahead.
So your last word for the parents, how to deal with their
instead of passing the time flipping the screen and checking people's stuff and photos, please try to educate yourselves and work on yourselves, and remember the task you're doing is very sublime. God gave you the privilege to help him in the creation. Don't ruin that grace. Take care of it, because one day if you don't take care of that grace, it will be lost from your hands.
So here we invite parents to use social media in good terms, to know more how to deal with their children and how to follow maybe the things they do in their life.
Exactly, to have a good side of what we have already mentioned.
Thank you, doctor. So we will continue with our subjects next week. We will see you next
I
week.
hope that what we have already presented will be of good benefit. I hope that we could pass on the message properly, and may the Lord be with us.
Thank you. With you too, doctor. For here, our episode comes to an end. Thank you for watching us. Stay safe, keep smiling. Goodbye.